I think it's important that people understand the breadth and depth and scope of what could be happening sometime, probably not right in front of their eyes. Obviously, I don't think most people would allow somebody else to be victimized in that manner, but maybe in their community or in their state that they're not aware of. I'm just trying to, hopefully you have they're not good examples either, for clarity for people. And that's exactly why I would want you to share them so people can have their hair blown back a little bit, or their eyebrows raised, or whatever it may be that could shift their focus 1 degree.
Yeah. And I do want to provide a little bit of a content warning. You basically just did, but
yeah.
You know,
people know what they're getting into with me. Don't worry. You're totally good.
I love that.
Yeah.
So one of 2 people come to mind right away. The first one is my aunt, Alice Looney, who went missing in 2004, and was found 15 months later. Her case was never really taken seriously, and she was found forcibly wedged under a tree. And unfortunately, the local police at that time had basically labeled her death as a natural death, and closed the case. It went, even though it wasn't necessarily closed, solved, it went cold. And to this day, my family has no idea what happened to my aunt Alice Looney. And in an even more tragic case, there's Rosenda Strong from the Yakima Reservation. Rosenda Strong went missing and was found in a freezer that was thrown off of the highway. And unfortunately, she was dismembered into trash bags. It went, even though it wasn't necessarily closed, solved, it went cold. And to this day, my family has no idea what happened to my aunt Alice Looney. And in an even more tragic case, there's Rosenda Strong from the Yakima Reservation. Rosenda Strong went missing and was found in a freezer that was thrown off of the highway. And unfortunately, she was dismembered into trash bags. And again, it was years until finally her sister showed up at every single possible meeting. Rosenda's sister was at legislation hearings and family testimonies for missing and murdered Indigenous people. And her sister was missing in 2019. And it was only in 2023 that they named the suspects. And for the whole 4 years, her sister was doing it all on her own. And I went to the court cases with her sister. Her name is Sissy Strong. And the way that she has to look all of these subjects, or all of the suspects in the eyes, like people who murdered, who dismembered, and threw away, her sister. And it was just met with complete lack of urgency from the local police. And she was just relentlessly and tirelessly showing up, doing her own investigating. And I think about how heartbreaking it would be if my sister had to do something like that, or had to do that for me. Because this whole time she wasn't even allowed to grieve. She wasn't able to do her traditional resting ceremonies for her sister. And when her sister was found, she was dismembered. Yeah. And it was just this complete lack of urgency. And my heart really breaks, not only for women like Rosenda, but women like Sissy, her sister, who aren't even given the opportunity to grieve because they're just constantly pushing for justice that the system is failing to do on her behalf. It's
a burden on a family and individuals that nobody should have to bear. That is,
absolutely.
I don't have the words to describe how hard that must have been for her and her family. And I'm sorry you had to experience that with your own aunt, by the way. Two questions for you. How can people get more involved in raising awareness about this issue?
Mm-hmm. I would first recommend in educating yourself. The Urban Indian Health Institute creates these studies that are not only Native, run and led and gathered, but they also make them that they're very accessible and easy to read. I was 18 years old, and I was able to read and understand these studies and get a really good grasp of how big the issue is, as well as what's concerning it. And there's also a lot of content out there, like TED Talks on missing and murdered Indigenous people.
Your TED Talk is very good, by the way. I watched it.
Oh, thanks. Mine isn't the only one, but there's more out there too. That just dive a little bit deeper into the legislative issues about missing and murdered Indigenous people. And finally, I would say by bringing it to your realms of influence. So whether it be sharing the missing Indigenous persons posters, at your workplace, or even if you have any like community groups, like sharing it to the groups. There are social media pages that have missing and murdered Indigenous peoples, like the missing posters part of it. That should be pretty easy to find on social media if you just look up missing Native people and then your state. There are usually some lists that have active missing, and by subscribing to those lists and then posting them on your social media or wherever you have the most influence is not only raising awareness, but actually providing an opportunity to gather some information about a missing Native person. So between self-educating and sharing news and media, those are really great places to start.
Do you have any, and I'm sure there are many organizations that maybe you have had touch points with, but so those are some great resources for people. Do you have any organizations that you may point people towards that they could support? And again, it doesn't have to be like a complete list, but maybe just in your own experience, some organizations that are doing what you consider to be positive or having a positive impact.
Yeah, I would definitely say there are a local organization. They're called Mother Nation. And the place that I work at, or plan to work at, the reason why I picked this place is because they provide holistic care, and they are able to do that through donations. There's not a lot of grants out there right now that promote missing and murdered Indigenous advocacy. And so they strategically use donations and then put that as like their own little funding for missing Indigenous peoples. And Mother Nation is one of the only places that I know that will do things like covering funeral costs, or covering hotel and gas cards for families who are searching in different states. And even sometimes like paying their rent, like the family member, for example, in this case, like Sissy, if she's attending court hearings and doing and searching herself, she doesn't always have the time to go to work and pay rent. Yeah. So paying her rent so that she's able to do that. And me personally, like volunteering on searches, we have at Mother Nation, when I was interning there, like we have found somebody. Like we found him in the streets of Seattle. And that wouldn't have been possible without the support of Mother Nation. So I am just in huge admiration of their work.
Any final thoughts that you'd like to leave people with?
Yeah, sure. I would say education is the first step. It's also one of the most empowering steps. And there are so many different ways to educate yourself, whether it be through videos, whether it be through studies. There's also like movies coming out as well. So if you connect better to like a story, there's quite a few films coming out that cover missing and murdered Indigenous people. And, we all start somewhere.
Yeah, it's from the outside, it could seem almost like an unsolvable problem, an issue that has a magnitude that, I don't know, you're out there screaming at the ocean, trying to change the tide. But I like your approach, and it's awesome to see somebody so committed to something that they believe in. I wish that many, many other young men and women could find something, not to tell them what that thing should be, but it's awesome to see how committed you are, and how willing you are to stand for what you believe in. And maybe I'll just close it with that. Thank you for being you. And thank you for taking the time to talk about this issue and sharing your message. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of
This
course.
is I really appreciate the opportunity to share.